What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. I hope you're having a fantastic day today. And in this video, I'm very excited because I wanted to talk about one of my favorite libraries that I use on a daily basis. And you know, when I do sample library reviews, I really like to recommend products that I see myself using or am currently using on a daily basis for my projects every single time, you know? And if you know me, if you follow me for any length of time, you know that I kind of write cinematic orchestral music, more in the Disney style vein. So I like to use acoustic instruments. And when it comes to orchestral percussion, there is one library that I use every single time, and that is CinePerc by Cinesamples. So we're going to go into a little bit of this library today and discuss some of my favorite patches that I like to use, some of the instruments inside the library. But before we do so, I want to just give you a little bit of a background into the library. And even before we do that, I want to give you something absolutely free. It's my sample library buyer's guide. It's the reason I made something like this is because, you know, I've been getting questions so often, like, what type of libraries do you use? Which string libraries do you like? What woodwind libraries do you like? You know, as a composer starting out, what library should I go with? And there are some that I just recommend because I just use them all the time. So it is my sample library buyer's guide. It's absolutely free. If you click on the first link in the description box below, you're going to find it there. And I hope it can help you with, guiding you on your next library purchase. And that will just answer all your questions regarding the libraries that I personally use and recommend. So just to get into a little bit of a background about CinePerc, I purchased this library as soon as they basically merged the four libraries into one. So basically, CinePerc is Cinesamples' all-encompassing cinematic percussion collection. And it actually used to be four different libraries. There was the core library, there was the pro library, the epic library, and finally the auxiliary library. So they actually went really deep with these instruments, and hence the price tag. You can see a $6.99 regular price for the entire CinePerc library. And so at first glance, you might be thinking, why is that so expensive? But then when you consider it's actually four libraries in one, then that actually makes some sense. So if I just show you here, this is CinePerc, and it comes with core, pro, epic, and auxiliary. And so you can see within each of these folders, we have the basic core instruments that are present in most orchestral settings. We have the Pro library, which has a drum kit, which is one of the patches I want to show you. And then all these other instruments, I'm not going to cover them all in this video, but just so you know, they're there. And then the epic, I mean, naturally you would use this for epic moments, but again, there's still acoustic percussion. It's not like trailer hits or anything like that. And then auxiliary percussion, all the bunch of other stuff that they didn't cover in the first three libraries. More recently, though, they've actually categorized them into these different categories. So, you know, orchestral percussion, the standard ones we have, melodic, woods, you know, things like that. So it's an alternative way to categorize the percussion, but I like to go with the legacy version because I'm just kind of used to this way of working. So the core library contains all these different instruments, and let's go through them and have a playthrough of these instruments. So at the very end, I'll go through why I actually enjoy this library so much, but just have an idea of these different patches that I use on a near daily basis. So this is the Timpani. It comes with hits. It also comes with rolls. So at the very bottom of the keyboard, you can play a note, and the mod wheel will control the the dynamic of that roll. So basically, if I play a roll here, as I push up the mod wheel, you can hear it gets louder and louder. And if I let go, it will add an extra hit to the very end to finish off that roll. Let's try another one. Let's try like an A, for example. Right? Maybe let's do an octave higher. So I love the fact that you can customize your own roll for your own music, and that's really interesting. And the fact that they add an extra hit at the very end there makes it awesome. And then again, you have 2 octaves of actual single hits, you know? And by the way, in terms of the actual microphone positions, by default, I tend to use the Dennis Sands mix 99% of the time. It just sounds awesome to me, and it has like the perfect amount of balance comparing the detail versus the room tone. Which brings me to the main point of why I enjoy this library so much is because out of the box, the way Dennis Sands actually mixes samples, it really takes advantage of the scoring stage that they recorded in the Sony stage. So it really is beautiful, and that's why the timpani is pretty much my most used timpani, I think. Then we have the bass drum, and you can see there's actually like 5 different types of bass drums, or maybe it's 4, and then some extra ones at the top here. But I tend to use the bottom one the most, so. Again, the rolls there at the bottom. More rolls. So really quiet. Okay, and let's hear these microphone positions a little bit. So this is the classic Dennis Sands mix, which is on by default. Let's try close and tight. Okay, so it's really interesting. I think the trailer mix compared to the Dennis Sands mix, they probably sound the most alike to each other. And I feel like the Dennis Sands mix is slightly warmer and less high-end heavy than the trailer mix. So the trailer mix tends to cut through a mix slightly better. Sometimes I'll use the trailer mix. But again, for the most part, I'll use the Dennis Sands mix, again, because I write kind of Disney style. So it's a little more classic in that nature, in that regard. And then moving on to the snares. For some reason, the tails there are not activating. Let me see if I reload the patch. See if we get more tails from those rolls. Okay, so it seems like the tails are cutting off right away. And maybe that was on purpose. So maybe it's intended, so if I do the roll, then... Oops, let me try that again. So if I do the roll, then I can actually play a sample after that, a one-hit sample to finish off that roll. Because when I release, the sound dies away completely, right? So then adding in that one hit at the very end helps it finish. What I typically do though is I'll just play the C and the D to kind of toggle back and forth between the snare hits to establish a pattern that way. So again, you get multiple types of snare hits here, and each have multiple round robins, which is really cool. Moving on, there are toms. I don't use these as much. I use the toms from Metropolis Arc 3, but just to show you, these are there as well. Just hear how the sound reverberates in the room is really nice. I'm going to keep on saying that, but it's true. Okay, for the orchestral cymbals, now we're at patch number 8. There's mainly 3 things I use here. So number 1, I use the roll on, I think it's B3. So this is at the very bottom of the mod wheel. Push it up. And then at the very end, they give you that little tail there as well. So I think it's an extra hit. So one more time. Right, and so you can really swell into that beautifully. Then C3, middle C, gives you a standard, mallet hit on the cymbal. Whereas C4 gives you the actual cymbal crash. You can hear the round robins in there as well. Okay, so what I like to do is do the mallet roll crescendo into an actual hit, so the cymbal crash. That's what I tend to like to do. So it's a lot of fun, and it's really user friendly. Like I can just do that out of the box. I don't even have to really think about it. Then we have the Glockenspiel, which is down here and sounds like this. All right, and finally, the last patch I use the most in the core library are the Tubular Bells. Again, I'm not going through every single one, but I do use the core library the most out of all 4 sections of this library. Here are the Tubular Bells. Very cool. All right, moving on to the Pro library. Now, the Pro library, I really only use one patch, which is the drum kit. And I love that it comes included with the drum kit. And to me personally, it's one of the best sounding kits I own, actually. Very crisp, very clean. And this is, again, the Dennis Sands mix. Let's have a quick listen. So it's really cool, like a lot of variety in the drum kit there. But again, they don't give you frills either. Like it gives you the essentials plus a few extra things that if you want to toggle back and forth, you absolutely can. I just tend to like to use the general MIDI mapping patch, but they also have the full 88 key mapping, combos and fills, which is really interesting. I don't really use this patch, but let's have a listen to some of these. I mean, you can't say that those don't sound awesome. I mean, the actual sound quality and the tone of that instrument is gorgeous. Okay, and then we move on to some of the other instruments here in Pro, ones that again I don't use very often, but you know they're nice to have. Here's a celeste. Then we have a vibraphone. So by default, you actually get the short samples there, but if I hold the pedal, then it actually sustains the vibraphone a little bit longer, which I do like there. Here's the marimba. So with the sustain pedal held down there, you actually get the rolls. And again, triggerable by mod wheel to get the different dynamics and velocity layers. Then we have orchestral shakers. All right, and then something that's really funny, typewriter. I love that they sampled this too. So it's really cool. Like you get the initial sample when you hold down the note, but when you let go, it actually triggers like a release sample of, you know, moving the typewriter to the left, or that ding signifying you have to move to the next line. Really, really quirky little instrument. Really cool. And then finally, I want to show you the two of the patches in Epic. The Ensemble Full basically combines all the different instruments being hit and played together, and this is actually when they actually played all the instruments at the same time to really get all the air frequencies moving in the scoring stage together. Sounds something like this. All right, so you get the idea. Finally, claps and snaps. I use this one quite a bit, and it's true to its name. It's just claps and snaps. All right, so claps at the bottom there, snaps at the top. But yeah, overall, it's just a very comprehensive library. And again, just considering that this is 4 libraries in one, that's why it's worth the asking price of $700. Especially though, if you do have a coupon code, if you do have an educational discount, I think it's 50%, then you can get it for $350, which is more than worth it. You know. And if someone asked me what is like the one comprehensive orchestral percussion library that will keep me satisfied for the rest of my working life if I only work with orchestral percussion, and I would highly recommend CinePerc. I'm not paid to say this, this is not some sort of like sponsored video. I literally just really enjoy this library a lot, so I want to recommend it to you because it's been serving me super, super well in all of my projects, and it sounds very authentic and cinematic. So for me, it's just like a really easy recommendation on my end. CinePerc Core has been the bread and butter percussion library for years now in my template. So just wanted to give it a shout out and thank the guys at Cinesamples for going through the momentous effort of putting this together. It's a lot of fun to use this library. It's very user friendly. As you can see, I am a Cinesamples fan. I have quite a few of their products, and they just do a great job. So my question for you actually is, do you own this library? If you do you use it a lot? And if not, maybe you don't own it, how come, or what libraries do you actually have? Another question I have for you is, would you like to see a video on how I actually use orchestral percussion in a song? Because I've talked about it before, but I've never really talked about how I use like traditional orchestral percussion in my actual songwriting or compositions. It's a question I get quite a lot, so I might do a video on that. But if this is something you're interested in, just let me know. I can definitely do that, like how to do transitions, how to do patterns, things like that. And before you go, again, I want to recommend you download my sample library buyer's guide. It's a totally free guide, but it walks you through my exact recommendations for every orchestral section: strings, woodwinds, brass, percussion, ethnic libraries, piano libraries, jazz libraries, all that good stuff. So you have a really focused visual of what I personally use on a day-to-day basis. If you enjoy any of my music, what I do, then this guide will give you an insight into what I use almost every single day. So again, I want to thank you so much for watching. Check out the guys at Cinesamples and check out CinePerc, especially if they're having a sale on this library. I do hope you enjoy it. It's, again, been my favorite percussion library for years now, so can highly, highly recommend it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.